We are going to watch a clip on some of the characteristics that we just discussed, and you'll be able to actually identify some of the features. It is the clip is featuring different animals. Those are actually predators and the prey, and how they interact in the environment. So. In that clip, you've seen the impala, which is actually being the prey, being preyed upon by the leopard, and also being preyed upon by the wild dogs, which are actually also trying to capture the same impala. So it's a paradox of reality in the ecosystem. So different predators trying to prey on the same organism, while the impala is also trying to run for its dear life to evade those particular predators. Actually end up going into the water, where it is also encountering an hippopotamus on the other side. So that gives us the kind of, shows us how the kind of changes that animals actually undergo. Some other prey may also produce, they secrete some bad smells or obnoxious smells to scare away other predators. This actually includes some insects and sometimes the skunks. A skunk smells pretty bad. So that kind of smell can put off or scare away some predators. Others, for example, they feed and move in very large groups, so they can be able to easily locate and fight the predators in case of any attack. Very popular among us, the buffaloes, antelopes, wild beasts, elephants, and the like. Then there is something referred to as a predator relationship. That is a very important tool when it comes to biological population control. Now, this is very common, especially in parks, where you need to have a definite number of animals in a given park. So the distribution of prey and predators are actually closely related. For example, you'll be able to find that most herbivores will be found where there is food that is actually really available. So realize that naturally an increase in the prey, for example, gazelle population, will actually lead to an increase in the number of predators, for example, the lion. So there is that link between an increased number of prey and the number of predators. So as the number of prey increases, the number of predators increase. Now the reason is that the prey is the main source of food for the predators. If there is availability of food supply, there is sufficient food supply, then automatically the predators will be able to feed well, reproduce more, and eventually their population is likely to increase. So as we are saying that, give an example, that if there are many gazelles in a pack, there is a likelihood you could have a larger pack of lions, cheetahs, or leopards for the sake. Then you also realize that any increased number of predators, for example lions, if there is increased number, this will automatically imply that, or will cause a reduced or decline in the prey populations, leading to inevitable reduction in the numbers of predators. So this is very interesting because we realize that lions will either, the increased numbers will actually produce increased demand for food supply. That means they must kill more prey. For example, more gazelles have to be killed by the increased number of lions, and consequently, the number of gazelles will automatically reduce. But then, this is the challenge, is that once the numbers of gazelles goes down, which is the source of food, then automatically the lions will also miss the source of food. So there are actually three options in this case. One, you realize that either the lions are going to starve, and eventually some are going to die, and if not, then they'll be forced to migrate to a different habitat where there is actually enough food supply. So in this case, the source of food is actually limiting the numbers. It is limiting the number of predators, because a reduced number of prey implies a shortage of food. Then we realize that a reduction in the number of predators, okay, in an ecosystem, for example, lions, will also allow an increase in the prey numbers. So you're saying that if the number of predators goes down, automatically the prey population increases, because there is no predation among us themselves, meaning they can actually reproduce and provide more young ones. Now, this concept will actually help in the population. Actually, it helps, for example, to maintain the population of gazelles and lions, at what we refer to as the carrying capacity of the habitat. It is the basis of biological control. These are very common practice in the past that actually naturally it ensures that the population of the predators and the prey remains fairly constant without killing or actually poaching some of these organisms. So we have a graph there that is depicting the effect of prey population and the predator relationship. So this curves here, actually we have a depiction. We have this short-tailed shrew, kind of rat, and a deer mouse. We also have vagrant shrew. Now if you look at this, what happens is that when the numbers of the short-tailed shrew are actually increasing, these ones are increasing at a very high rate, this also increases. So the population, as the abundance or the density of the prey increases, see that, then the percentage of population consumed also increases. So as these populations are rising, then consumption also increases. So that means this is the predation part of it. So these numbers, as the numbers increase, this also increases up to a point whereby there's a point of equilibrium. That means the number of predators and prey are actually equal. The reproduction and the killing of prey and consumption is actually at par. But then, as the predation level goes down, then the population of the prey also increases. So that kind of equilibrium is actually maintained, and that is the basis of what referring to as a biological control in maintenance of natural populations in any particular ecosystem. So increased number of predators will automatically lead to reduced number of prey. Equally increased, if you reduce the number of, it's more or less like an inverse relationship between the two organisms in any given ecosystem. I just need to note that if by any chance an extermination of the predators occurs, then the prey will reproduce and they exceed the carrying capacity of the ecosystem. Now this leads to severe starvation, massive death with an alarming increase in the prey population. This we say actually that a population crash is likely to occur. So that means if all the predators are eliminated, for example, if you eliminate all the lions in a park, there is a probability that you could have the number of gazelles, antelopes increasing, meaning the higher population of these animals will actually increase consumption of the vegetation. To an extent, there will be competition. That means the source of food will be limited, the space is also limited. To an extent, some of them are likely to die in very large numbers. That's what we're referring to as a population crash. Remember, carrying capacity is the maximum number of organisms in an area. An area can comfortably support without depletion of the available resources. For example, the maximum number of antelopes or gazelles that can be comfortably reared in a park without overgrazing. That brings us to the end of our session today.